This is a more mysterious place than the pyramid in Egypt, an ancient civilization never recorded in historical document, a colossal imperial city of which the construction involved a labor force of 10 million, a miraculous ruin that evidenced the 5,000-year Chinese history. It emerged as brightly as it disappeared. What's this? Why did it vanish? Where did it go? Why is it viewed as the dawn of the Chinese civilization? This series will gradually unveil its secret. Before we tell you the entire story, we find it necessary to confirm one important thing with you. Like stars in the sky, Namiri's origin of the Chinese civilization was strewn across the land, or ancient cultures that once existed on the seal, such as Liangzhu culture, the Longshan culture, the Hongshan culture, the Dawenkou culture, and the Sanxingdui culture, constitute our culture roots. The Liangzhu culture we are discussing today and various prehistorical sites of different size are not isolated. Instead, they share great commonality. If we make some bold assumption here, we can ask the following questions. About 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, was it possible that tribe huntsmen living around the Taihu region once traveled across the mountains and rivers, marched for 1,000 kilometers and fought with the tribe on the central plains of China? Could it be possible that a certain tribe from the mid and lower reaches of the Yangtze River sailed against the current for 1,000 kilometers, merged with the local community in Sichuan and thus formed the ancient Chu civilization? Today, let's start our discussion with the first Chinese city. The reason that the State Council granted a glorious title, Liangzhu seat, to the city was that this ancient town was approximately built between 3300 and 2000 before Christ, around the same time when Uru city in ancient Mesopotamia was established. This civilization ended 200 years before the early Tou culture in the Xia dynasty, the earliest dynasty in China, even appeared. Both the level of the civilization and the size of the city exceeded those of other cities in China of the same age. Compared to the city in other parts of the world in the air, it was also fairly comparable. How big was it? Let's connect with the reporter at the front. Hi. Hi. Please briefly introduce to us what the Liangzhu city looks like.
All right. We are currently standing at the core area of the Liangzhu ancient city, the ruin of Mojiaoshan Palace. This palace is located at a ram earth elevation with a height of over 10 meters, a little to the north of the city center. The palace is 670 meters in length from east to west and 450 in width between south and north. It occupies an area of about 300,000 square meters. How large is it? Let's follow the camera. The edge of the elevation is about where my finger is pointing. Outside the palace lies the ruin of the inner city, which is around 1,700 meters long between east and west, and 1,900 meters long from north to south. The entire inner city has an area of about 3 square kilometers. The city walls alone are 40 to 60 meters thick. This is the city area we have currently confirmed, and this 3 square kilometer ancient city seat is also the area acknowledged by the international community. However, as our excavation continues, we have already found ruins of another city beyond the city walls, which indicate if there is further archaeological evidence proving the existence of another city around the Liangzhu site, then the area of the whole city will reach 8 square kilometers, which will then exceed what is known as the largest city in the world, Uruk in ancient Mesopotamia. This is definitely a gigantic city. I just entered from here at the south gate. Then I got on the sightseeing car and traveled to the north of the palace area along this road. According to my road calculation, it took me about 10 minutes. Apparently, there was no motor vehicle in that age, so for citizens at that time, the city was huge. The most important thing is that this city did not come into existence little by little. It was more likely built within a very short period of time after thorough planning. It was more likely built within a very short period of time after thorough planning. According to archaeologists' estimate, the construction of this city required around 10 million cubic meters of earth cube. If one person carried 1 cubic meter of earth cube, then the entire project needed 10 million people. We can imagine how many earth cubes were required to build that 10-meter elevation at the palace area. On another note, you can take the great picture here. Now I'm going to hand it over to the host.
Alright, thank you. Speaking of the city construction, just as we have no idea about how the pyramid in Egypt were built, there are also a great many secrets about this glorious city for us to explore. For example, were there 10 million people living at the ancient Liangzhu state at that time? Personally, I don't think so. And more likely, ancient men used other tools and methods to build this city. Currently, according to some scholars, the most plausible explanation is that construction materials were shaping through labyrinths of water within the city. We can find large canals and bubble raft in the Liangzhu Museum as well. The exhibition here presents how ancient Liangzhu people built Mojiaoshan Palace in this entirety. We can see from here that they practically carry materials on their shoulders when they travel on the land. However, here things are a little different. There's a canoe. To understand how enormous it is, let's take a look from the other side. This is a giant log. I may not even be able to wrap it around with my arms. There's a hole in the middle. Next to it lies a smaller bamboo raft. I guess Liangzhu people at that time first shipped a great number of earth cubes to the city via water, and then used them to build the 10-meter plus elevation. As for details about how they actually worked on the project, we can only guess and present. Further excavation is required. Nevertheless, it's certain that such an immense project could not be completed within a short period of time without carefully planning and organization, which means that there had already been a strict hierarchy of authority and a comprehensive work classification system within the ancient Liangzhu state by that time. Further, the state was fairly powerful. Archaeologists also found 200,000 kilograms of carbonated cereal grains at the Liangzhu site. It's estimated that the Maoshan rice field outside the city could yield 2,105 kilograms of food per hectare. What does this number mean? In 1950, the rice yield in China was 2,105 kilograms per hectare. There is also something else pretty strange to me. If this city gradually fell as time progressed, normally there wouldn't be so much excess food. Therefore, we speculate that perhaps an earth-shattering disaster devastated upon this city 4,000 years ago, which compelled the citizens to live a harry without taking property or food with them. Indeed, this ancient city leaves us many unsolved mysteries. Why is there not any direct record of its history documentation? Even we have found some information that may be related to the city, there is no solid archaeological evidence to further verify it. The ancient Liangzhu state was definitely a powerful nation. Threats for wars were found from the Taihu area all the way to the west region around the Yellow River. Could we boldly assert that they once had a foresters fight with people of Yangshao culture and the Longshan culture? What did Liangzhu people come across 4,000 years ago? Why did the entire nation disappear? Where did they go? Merely 200 years after their disappearance, the Xia dynasty quickly rose to power on the central plains of China. Is there any connection between these two entities? In the next episode, we are going to continue to explore the secret of the Liangzhu culture. Bye bye.